to SoCal Prep Report. I'm Randy Rosenblum. Mark Fatal will join me in a moment from SB Live. Have another nice football show for you. Right in the middle of the football season in the prep world, so why not talk about football? Marvin Street of Chatsworth, he's going to be in our featured game tomorrow against El Camino Real. Marvin's a great guy, and I look forward to chatting with him about that football game. He's a fine head coach at Chatsworth. And then a little later in the show, Gary Parks, fine coach at Angelou, and Angelou is 6-0. How about the Phoenix Targ, Fatal?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the city section, there's those open division teams, kind of an elk of programs at the top. And then I think, I don't know, roughly around 10 to 25, there's kind of this period where any team can beat anybody. And so to see two teams doing well, especially one on the rise like Angelou, fun to see.
Yeah, it's a great little story there that they go 6-0. Right now they're a D2 team, maybe jumping up to D1, right in that end of D1, bottom D1, perhaps top of D2. I know that divisions gets all confusing. Let's talk about some good football games from last week. Number one ranked Mater Dei went on the road. They went to the nation's capital in Washington, played St. Francis Academy, who was 1-4, but played a national schedule. And it was not easy for the Monarchs. Took them 2 defensive touchdowns to help win 20-7.
Yeah, I think sometimes Mater Dei, everyone thinks they're just going to roll in anywhere and just mop the floor with teams. But when you're on the road, you're dealing with teenagers and airplanes and weird sleep. It can be a real droopy Friday night, but the good teams find a way to win and the Monarchs stay unbeaten.
Talking about good teams finding a way to win, that's Corona Centennial. They played a very good Liberty team from Arizona. They were down 2 touchdowns late in this contest and rallied to win it 42-35.
I talked to one of the assistant coaches. They had 6 turnovers, Corona Centennial did. So when you're turning the ball over that much and still finding a way to win, again, just an opportunity to see your team thrive despite so much adversity.
Another game, this is a good football team at Rancho Cucamonga. I know they're in your top 10.
Yep.
They won. They beat a good Vista Murrieta team. Wasn't easy. They jumped to an early lead and held on 34-24.
I think Rancho Cucamonga is the best team in the Baseline League, which is, I think, the second best league behind the Trinity League in Southern California with Damien and Etta Wanda, all unbeaten, by the way, heading into this Friday night. So Rancho Cucamonga, Trey Wilson, keep an eye out for that name.
Talk about a couple other games before we get to Marvin Street. I do want to mention St. John's of Washington, D.C. over Mission Viejo. This really hurts Mission Viejo. It's their second loss.
Listen, you're talking about their only 2 losses are to Long Beach Poly, really, really good. Long Beach Poly's only loss is to Bishop Gorman, the number 2 team ranked in the country.
Who some people think is the best team in the country.
Yeah, them in Mater Dei would be a great game. And so Mission Viejo goes on the road, and like I just alluded to with Mater Dei, sometimes you just get teenagers on the road and they play differently, so nothing to hang their head about.
In the city, I know you were at this game. Tark loved this game.
I did.
34 for San Pedro, 28 for previously unbeaten Dimely. But this was a really thrilling game.
It really was, and I think you show up and you look at San Pedro and it's like 50 kids and they're all big and burly. It's kind of like your old school Big Ten football. They're just going to ground and pound. And you look over at Dimely and they've got 32, 33 kids and they're all lean and athletic, and you're just like, wait a minute. There's clearly a matchup issue here, and so what was impressive about Dimely is the numbers and the beef up front didn't matter. They found space, really good coaching by David Wiltz, and they were able to get their athletes in space and make some noise. So I think it showed that Dimely can hang with an open division quality team.
David Wiltz has been a good coach for a long time. Did a great job with the Jefferson program in downtown LA. And what I liked about Dimely in this game, even though they fell behind, they always fought back.
I did.
They were never really blown out of the game. They really battled. And when you talk about teams that fight, I think about the Chatsworth Chancellors. Not literally. They fight hard on the football field. They're coached by Marvin Street. And what I like about Marvin, he's more than just a football guy as we bring him in. It's not all about football for Marvin Street, but he is a tremendous coach. Marvin, great to see you again. We look forward to tomorrow night, and congratulations on a winning record to this point in the season.
Thank you. What's more important is that we're winning off the field, so that's the most important thing.
That's what I want to talk to you about. It's not all about football for you. You're trying to build the character of these young men, aren't you?
That's absolutely correct.
Well, talk about it. How do you build the character? What do you do?
Grind and structure and love and care. That's how we build them. We put them through tons of obstacles, and watch them fold and then build them back up and then put them through those obstacles again with a rigorous schedule and just watch them overcome obstacles, adversity, and then there you go. And here comes the next group and we repeat the process. Obviously, we fine tune it, but the process has been working up to this point, and I'm looking forward to continue to build more young men of character for years to come.
Seems very fitting to do this interview from the library. I think it's very academic and on point for you. Coach, talk about your team. I know your numbers aren't big, maybe anywhere between, 32 to 35 guys on any given Friday night. Talk about some of the challenges on the field when you're dealing with low numbers like that.
Well, I wouldn't even say, I would say more like 27.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
that was very generous of you. We have a lot of young kids on our JV team. Our JV team's about 45 to 50 kids. It's just I rather have the right kids on varsity than having more kids on varsity. I'd rather kids have an opportunity to actually play rather than standing on the sideline. It does have its challenges, because granted, when you have injuries, then you have less participation at practice, but we've been fortunate to not have very many injuries by far, and we have to give kudos to our off-season training regimen.
One of those injuries, however, is to your star player, Isaiah Ramo. He's got a shoulder issue. We don't know if he's going to play in our game against El Camino tomorrow night when we have Chatsworth and ECR. Where is he, and what has made him, where is he physically, and what has made him such an outstanding player? Because his numbers are off the charts running the football.
Well, with his injury, as of 2 weeks ago, he was at an 8 when you're looking at the pain on a 10 scale. And as of this morning, he's at a 3. But then we don't know if he's just making that up so I can play him. But we'll test it a little bit today at practice, and we'll see how he goes from there. Like I said, it'll probably be a game time decision, because at the end of the day, there's life after football. And I would hate for him to have to live his adult life permanently injured.
But he has great numbers. He's already rushed for over 1,000 yards. He's had a couple 300-yard games. Why is he so stellar on the playing field?
I have to give that credit to just where he comes from. His background is just you have to work and you can't settle. Even when you have reached a goal, that's not enough. We have to go get more and more and more. And, that's the type of background that he comes from, which is perfect because that's what we preach here at Chatsworth. Being complacent and being content is just not enough, because our football program here at Chatsworth is also based around the structure of society and what it takes for us to be successful men within the United States of America. And being average is not one of them. So you have to work.
My last question for you is about, maybe you allude so much about building the whole young man or man per se. What are you guys doing? Maybe not necessarily this year if you haven't gotten a chance to do it, but community. What have you been able to do with the program in your community?
Well, with the program, we typically participate at our local church. We go and we hand out toys during the holiday season for children that are less fortunate, children that are in like juvenile hall facility, foster care. So it just doing that along with our annual Christmas parade that we do, it helps the kids just see things from a different perspective and helps them understand that it's just not all about them. Despite what they may be going through, there's someone out there that has it worse off than you. So we try to condition them to live a life of gratitude.
All right, tomorrow night's the game. We have it on TV. You're playing El Camino Real at Birmingham. We'll be there live at 7. What do you need to do to knock off the Royals?
Play fundamental football.
I like it. I like you. You're a good guy. We'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for dropping by tonight on SoCal Prep Report, and congratulations on getting Chatsworth turned around in the right direction. Keep your guys healthy. I know you don't have a lot of them, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Well, thank you so much. And I'd like to thank Coach Troy Cassidy, who is the head coach at Kennedy, for hiring me 6 years ago as a JV head coach at Chatsworth High School. So kudos to him.
Well, Troy's a good guy, and two
Yes.
good guys deserve one another. We'll talk to you tomorrow, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good time.
You
Take
got it.
care. Take care.
I really enjoy him because of his philosophy, his beliefs. It's not just all about football for the kids.
I think sometimes, I mean, myself included as a media member, you get stuck. I mean, I'll use the word, you really do get stuck covering teams that really only readers sometimes are interested in, like the high level programs. But there are coaches like Marvin Street that are doing it for the right reasons and loving on those young people, and that's really what's important.
And another one like that is Gary Parks, and we're going to talk to him in a little bit at Angelou. So, all right, let's go talk about our CIF Southern Section rankings presented by SB Live, right? These are your rankings. We start with Mater Dei. They should be number one. I don't think that's any surprise. Corona Centennial is ranked second. That's, to me, a little bit of a surprise because they've lost some games, but they did have the dramatic win a week ago. St. John Bosco down to 3. Sierra Canyon, I think maybe should be higher. I mean, they've been brilliant so far. They're undefeated, ranked 4th in Long Beach Poly, which has been very solid. The back 5, Rancho Cucamonga. Santa Margarita is still another Trinity League team. Mission Viejo drops to number 8 with their most recent loss. Orange Lutheran is number 9, and number 10 is Murrieta Valley.
So I moved Murrieta Valley up because they knocked off San Clemente. Bear Bachmeyer and Dorian Hose, that's the running back. Bear Bachmeyer just got done visiting Notre Dame. So that's the kind of quarterback he is. He's being recruited by programs like that. And they go on the road and they beat San Clemente. So I think they deserve to be in the top 10. And really the last one is Sierra Canyon, like you mentioned. Definitely a team to watch. I think the Mater Dei, the St. John Bosco, the Corona Centennial, to me, that's a top 3 that's going to have to stay intact, in my opinion, because until someone local knocks them off, and it can't be each other, then I think that's when you might see some of those teams fall.
But don't you believe, if you forget the past,
Sure.
and somebody just dropped in and looked at this season, this one particular year, Sierra Canyon might be a little higher based on what they've done this year?
Yes, someone else could look at that and come to that conclusion, absolutely. I'm of the opinion that Corona Centennial's 2 losses are literally to the number 1 and number 2 teams in the country, and I kind of sympathize with that. So to me, some of those losses are actually more impressive than some of Sierra Canyon's wins.
What is impressive is great performances, and we seem to have a few of them each and every week. Wyatt Becker.
Yep.
Speaking of Sierra Canyon, right? 7 touchdowns for the Trailblazers. Another big game, and that was against Saguaro of Arizona, which is a pretty good team.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was expecting that final score. I believe it was 63-6 or 63-3, something like that. He scored the 7 touchdown throws, school record. He actually ran for one, so he scored 8 touchdowns. Wyatt Becker, only a junior, and he's got all kinds of Division I programs looking after him.
So does Brady Smigel. We talk about Brady every week. He throws 6 touchdowns every week. 6 more this one against Thousand Oaks. He had some interceptions in this game. Made the game interesting. Beat Ben McEnroe's team. It was a good win over Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, and that's a rivalry game, too. Those can get chippy and emotional. So for him to keep his calm and lead Newbury Park to a win is also impressive. That's a program that's going to be in the Marmoni League next year.
And, of course, we talked about Corona Centennial coming from behind and knocking off Liberty. Cornell Hatcher's the reason. He kind of willed them to victory, rushed for over 300 yards. This is a running back that is big time.
That's going to be their bread and butter. They do have the new quarterback, Hassan Longstreet from Inglewood.
They do.
But he's not playing that great. So they passed it off to Cornell Hatcher, and a guy ran for 300 yards. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I'd give him the ball. He's
That's
tremendous.
what I'm saying.
So what do you think of Angelou? 6-0. We're going to get to Gary right now. What do you think?
I think it's great. Hey, listen, you got young kids. They're clearly confident. That's important, right? When they're winning. Let's see if they can go win their league now. I think that would be the next goal if I'm the Angelou coach, and we're going to ask him right now.
Let's meet this nice gentleman, Gary Parks. I mean, he's parked in a car, it looks like, right now, getting ready for practice. But, Gary, congratulations on the 6-0 start. What has been the secret for your team coming off to such a great start, starting this way?
Well, thank you for having me. We invested in this season. We made up in our mind as a coaching staff that we wanted to compete against the best. So we traveled to Carson. We traveled to San Pedro. We traveled to Salesian. We took our kids to Vegas for the tournament at UNLV. They participated in the Redlands camp, UNLV, UCLA. So we invested in high-level competition, and all those teams that I mentioned are ranked high either in the city or the southern section.
What exactly is, for those that don't know, explain what is the play style of Angelou, Coach? You guys air it out, you guys run it. Explain that to us.
Well, we are a running team, but we do like to spread the ball around a little bit. We have a quarterback in Adrian Mendoza, who is he's a good quarterback. He reads the field well. We have Nico, which is an athlete. He had 22 touchdowns last year. He was a league MVP. Brandon Morales, he's our running back. So we have a two-headed monster, and so our offensive line is experienced. And so we like to run the football, but we can also throw the football with the best of them.
Let's talk about Angelou. I mean, we think of the city section, certainly in the downtown area of, Crenshaw and Dorsey. West Adams jumped up there for a little while, and they had a good program. We see Dimely coming up. Where is Angelou systematically in the city section in regards to football? How high on the pecking order are you, and how high can you get down the road at your school?
Well, last year we lost a playoff game to LA Jordan. We had 0.9 seconds on the clock. We were inside the five. The ball fell short. We ended up losing that game 16-10. But we knew and we were determined after that loss to invest in our student athletes and their development. And so we are surprised that we are ranked so high. I believe we're 22 or 23 in the city. But we're a varsity only team. But we were able to compete, be physical, and win some games. Last week we came back from 21-7 down to Santee, and we've never defeated Santee, but we have been close the last 2 years. But we were able to come back and win that game 35-27. So our kids are resilient, in the South LA area. We just recently had a shooting in our area, but that doesn't stop our kids. They're a resilient bunch of kids.
You brought it up, Coach. Talk about the challenges of coaching in the inner city. David Wiltz from Dimely, he told me, I asked our admin for headsets and they laughed at me. So I don't know if your program has headsets when you're coaching, maybe you do, but that doesn't mean there aren't challenges for your student athletes to and fro to school. Talk about some of those challenges.
Yes, cliques, meals. We've paid rent, light bills. We have to be open to our kids working. We have to be open to our kids arriving to practice late because they have to watch their brother or their sister while their mother or their father work. These are the challenges that we face. And again, we are a determined and resilient group. Our kids are determined and resilient. You would never know that we are a city program when you see us. We have had people donate items to us, and we have travel sweatsuits, and people see what we're doing, and they see the heart of our program, and they donate to us. And so our kids are without lack, but there are several challenges that people don't know about, but they overcome them.
Gary, I sense that you're not only a head coach, but you're a father figure to your kids. How are you a father figure to your players?
Yes, I'm a listening ear. I'm a counselor. I'm a father figure. When it's time to be stern, I'm stern. We hold our kids accountable. They're able to call me as early as 5 in the morning, as late as uh, 11 o'clock at night. And we are there. Many don't know I am a pastor. I pastor a church as well. And so our faith, our family, our friendship, and our fellowship amongst our group is being taught every single day.
That's awesome. Last question. I do have to talk about the playoffs. You heard me. I wasn't sure if you're a D1 team or a D2 team. Obviously, if you play D1, because you're right on the cusp there with those numbers, you're playing against better competition. If you drop to number 2, certainly you're in the mix maybe to win the whole thing. Where do you feel like your program should play in the playoffs?
Well, I think we should play Division III because we're a varsity only program. But that's going to be a challenge for the seeding committee. We just have to make sure that we take care of our league. Right now, if playoffs started on Friday, we will be the 15th seed in Division One, playing against, Crenshaws and those programs. We're excited for the challenge, and so wherever our lot may fall, we will be ready to go. But if you're asking me, I prefer to go to Division 3 where our kids can thrive. But wherever our lot may fall, we're gonna show up.
Well, you're thriving anyway. You're 6-0 at this point. You are to be commended. You've done a great job. You're a good guy. Having you and Marvin on the same show has been really wonderful for us. And we wish you well the rest of the way. And I hope you end up in D3. How's that?
Me too. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Bye-bye.
I just like the guys we have on today.
Yeah, no, good guys. And no, that's what, I'm thinking if he goes low D1, they could get like the leftovers of the West Valley League or the Marine League, because that's going to likely be the 1, 2, or 3 seed, and that would be a pretty tough matchup.
Yeah, it could end up being a Narbonne type of team. I don't think it'll be
correct.
Narbonne,
No,
but
correct.
it could be. And
no,
they
it
don't
could be,
want to
because
deal
there's
with
only
that.
8 that go to the Open, so there's only so many teams. There's only so many teams, so it would be a tough draw. I'm kind of thinking maybe he drops down to D2.
Yeah, that's what I think
that's
too.
I think that's the sweet spot for them.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Well, let's talk about some teams that won't be in D2. Let's take a look at the top 10 in the city section. And once again, we start with Birmingham. No matter what happens to them, and they went to Texas and got clobbered by Steele, which was no surprise. That was supposed to happen. They were playing up. They're still number 1 in the city.
Yeah, Birmingham, they open up against Granada. That could have some early implications.
That's a good game.
Yeah, because Granada's pretty good, and let's say Granada knocks them off. That's going to be really interesting. That pretty much puts Granada in the driver's seat for the West Valley League, and maybe they go to the Open. Then maybe Birmingham would still go to the Open, by the way. And a couple other ones, Carson, San Pedro, Dimely. Those are teams that are really, really knocking on the door.
Did you not move Dimely up even though they lost?
No, I had them. They were at. They were. I had them at 7 and moved them to 6.
That's right.
Because Palisades lost and Banning and Narbonne lost. So some of these other teams lost. I dropped them down, but because Dimely was able to go toe to toe with San Pedro, I felt like that was a good spot for them. They moved up 1 spot.
That's what I thought. You know what I don't like about the top 10? He's got 11. Every week,
Franklin and Cleveland.
Cleveland and Franklin, you got to get one in there, not both.
No, they're both deserving to be mentioned, and so that's why I do that. I know it's kind of breaking the rules a little bit, but everything will be fine, Randy. Don't worry. The world is not falling apart.
That's why we do it. Some key games this weekend. I got them on the paper here. Got to talk about them. How about we start with Birmingham and Granada Hills in the city. Granada lost to Birmingham. Remember, Birmingham won the championship the last couple of years in the city. Granada only lost by 1 point last year.
29-28. I was there. It was a barn burner, but I just don't know if they didn't. They had a guy named Dijon Stanley who is super,
they have another Stanley,
super special, and I know Darrell Stanley is a good player, but he ain't Dijon Stanley. So
it's his cousin.
I understand, but
he's a good player.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
You're not going there. You're believing Birmingham.
Yeah, no, Birmingham. They just got Draydon Fowles eligible, and I just wrote a little story about how Jim Rose, the head coach, said it's like a Lendell White, Reggie Bush kind of thunder and lightning, because Ronell Hewitt's like this physical runner. And the kicker is, I was at practice this week, and I go, "Hey fellas, you guys know who Reggie Bush is?" And they go, "Yeah." I said, "What about Lendell White?" And they go, "No, I never heard of that name." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, now I feel old." So they've got 2 different looks from the running back position. That usually helps you.
A little trivia since we're doing Chatsworth El Camino. Fowles had 3 touchdowns for El Camino against Chatsworth last year before he transferred.
And now he's on Birmingham, yep.
Newbury Park, of course, we always got to talk about Brady. But Smigle's got a tough game tomorrow because they're going to Moore Park, which is undefeated. We don't ever talk about the Musketeers.
Yeah, Ryan Husengay is the coach there at Moore Park. He's been there for a while. Coached Drake London. That's where Drake London went to school. He's a Musketeer. Now he's played for USC. Now he's with the Falcons. But, yeah, good program. I just don't think they'll be able to slow down Newbury Park.
Yeah, Smigel will throw 6 touchdowns. He does every week.
And they'll give up 5 and win the game.
Yeah. I think they're the most entertaining team in Southern California.
Oh, yeah, they're one of them. Brady Smigel is super special. I feel like I say it on this show every week because you bring him up, but he's going to be one of those. He's going to be like the top quarterback in his class when he's a senior.
If we expand to an hour, we'll call it the Smigel Hour.
There you go. Well, that's good.
You like that? Okay. Orange Lutheran and Jay Sayre. This should be a competitive game in the Trinity League.
Yeah,
Trinity League's going now.
Yeah, Santa Margarita's playing St. John Bosco. Servite's playing Mater Dei, and so it's fun. The Trinity League is getting fired up, and we'll see where the chips may lay. And Mater Dei plays Bosco on October 13th. So there'll be a couple games basically until the big showdown.
Does Servite have any chance against Mater Dei? No.
They're better, though. Servite only won one game last year. They're better this year.
How about St. John Bosco, Santa Margarita? Does Margarita have a chance?
Yeah,
I think they might.
Yeah, I think after seeing St. John Bosco and play against Kahuku and kind of like, these guys are mere mortals. Why can't Santa Margarita take their best shot and knock them off? I don't see it happening, but maybe.
But it's tough to beat the Red Raiders when you're in Hawaii.
That's
They're
true.
very tough
That's true.
at home. Speaking of modern day, they're number one in the country again in volleyball. Did you know that? We had Miracosta on. Miracosta was ranked number one after beating Modern Day 3 straight sets. Then they play again in a tournament. Modern Day wins 2 out of 3, not a full 3 out of 5, 2 out of 3. So suddenly Modern Day's back up on number 1. Costa's number 2. They're still the 2 best teams, and probably we'll see them in the finals.
I was just going to say, it'll make for a much better Division I final.
All right, let's get back to football. You know who else is on the 11th?
I don't know.
Is it the 13th?
Okay, I was going to say, I'm like,
threw you
oh
off
man,
with that
Randy,
date.
come on, man.
It's the 13th.
Okay, yeah. The
Warren
13th.
and Downey are going to
Yep.
play in SoFi. Everybody is discussing the fact that this game is going to be played at SoFi Stadium. It is a great rivalry. Warren and Downey obviously are both in Downey, so the neighbors are going to take it to SoFi. It'll be good.
It'll be a Gateway League opener. I believe Downey lost last year. Warren won, but Downey went on to win the Division IV CIF Southern Section title. So 2 very good teams, and of course an unprecedented night. The first high school football game in SoFi. It was supposed to be Modern Day Bosco last year, but Modern Day didn't want to give up their home game. Knuckleheads.
What do you think the parking will be? It's usually $100 there to go for a Rams game.
I think
they cannot charge $100.
I think it's either $10 or $15 to park. General admission, $35 tickets. So you got to spend a little bit of money.
If it's only $10 or $15 to park, you got to do it, don't you think?
Yeah, or you go to Modern Day Bosco.
Modern Day Bosco. The game I'm looking for on the 13th is going to be Dorsey Crenshaw, because to me that's a story there. Dorsey's had a bad year. They can make it all up if they can knock off a decent Crenshaw team in the rivalry game. But we'll talk about that in a couple of weeks. I do want to talk about Cole Leinert, who is the Modern Day backup quarterback. At least he was until last week. And now he's transferred to Newport Harbor. Of course, his dad, Matt Leinert, was a great player at Modern Day, went on to USC, won a Heisman Trophy, played in the NFL. And it's surprising to me in his sophomore year he'd pack his bags and leave the number 1 ranked team in the country.
Sure, and to do it mid-season. So I wonder, why not wait it out, right? You never know. What if Elijah Brown gets hurt? Now Cole Leinert's playing. So I don't know why I'm doing it mid-season. The only thing I can think of is maybe they move and he's eligible right away. Maybe he sits out. But they have a quarterback already at Newport Harbor named Jaden O'Neal, and he's a sophomore, the same grade as Cole, and he's really good. So
yeah, he's thrown for over 1,000 yards.
I'm not so sure what the plan is, but we shall see it unfold.
One of the things about Modern Day, whenever you talk about Modern Day football, they have depth at every position. So I think Modern Day has 5 quarterbacks on their roster. That's a lot of quarterbacks
after
at the
Cole
prep level.
Leinert and Elijah Brown, there are 5. So they had 7 total, and now 1's gone. So it's 6 total, including Elijah Brown.
And you probably know who the new backup is.
I do, but there's a couple young freshmen that are pretty talented. I've been told who the backup is. I don't want to use his name because I'm not so sure that's honestly the truth. So we'll see how it goes.
Where are you going to be this weekend?
Friday, I'm going to go to St. Francis Loyola. And I'm doing that game because it's likely that the winner of that game is going to get the inside track of the Angeles League title and very likely go to the Mission League next year.
So you have John and Sean Sanders. Interesting story at St. Francis. 2 brothers who are both quarterbacks. Now, John's the older one. He's the senior. Sean's the freshman. He's learning from his brother John, who's led him to a 4-1 record.
I know John Sanders, the quarterback, really, really talented player. Very Johnny Manziel-esque type skill set. Throws the ball a mile, really quick, fast twitch kind of athlete, makes people miss. And, people love watching him play. He can scramble for 40-yard touchdowns, stuff like that. So we'll see. Loyola is going to have a tough time. I think St. Francis is going to win that game. That game's in La Cañada. However, Loyola has played a very tough schedule and a lot of young players. So I think in time they'll be a lot better.
Now, did you say you're going somewhere else? I know you said that's Friday night. Are you going somewhere on Saturday?
No, we're on Saturday.
You have nothing on Saturday?
I'm doing another TV gig on Saturday.
You're killing me. I thought we had an exclusive with you here.
We don't have to talk about it. I don't want to bring up the letters or anything. Yeah.
Speaking of TV gigs, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, El Camino Real. I know they're only 1-4, but this is the start of the West Valley League, and they'll play Chatsworth, so it's the opener in the league for both teams. This means something for these guys because they're trying to get it going in the West Valley League.
I think, look, Chatsworth, and I'll tell you right now, and I'm not trying to break any hearts, El Camino Real and Chatsworth, they're not going to win the West Valley League. However, the wins will matter for playoff seeding. Where will they get seeded? Who will they get paired up for? So these games do matter.
That's going to do it. By the way, Cal Preps has that game 28-21 for Chatsworth, but they don't know that Isaiah is injured, the great running back at Chatsworth. It's a picket game. It's a pretty good clue to watch the game, right? You should watch it. That's it. We're done. I like your shoes today. Very nice shoes.
Way
We'll
better than
SoCal
yours.
Prep
Look
Report.
at see the gray chukkas? That's what they're called, chukkas. But you don't know about that.
You must have paid a pretty penny for those.
Nordstrom Rack.
Really?
Yeah.
I like my shoes.
Yeah.
Those
I know
are
you
very
got. You
comfortable.
probably got those off Amazon Prime or something.
No, I got them at.
Are they
I think
Skechers?
I don't know where I got these. I picked them up at some shift strap.
I'm more of a Nordstrom Rack kind of guy.
Yeah, I didn't get these.
You
at
know what the
Rack.
Nordstrom Rack is, right?
No, I can't afford that. Are you kidding?
Oh my gosh! I knew that when I said.